Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John's Reports for the 10th of July, and more of the same. We're just pushing up towards the highs. We could see that there was still a stronger case for the bulls than for shorts. We had the reset here on the DOC of steel, so as it began to rise, that's pushed up through, and we're right at the peak levels here again, and should continue to bounce back and forth. This is one of those where that data is continuing to show that inflation is not the big deal. Unfortunately, oil is still not moving in the direction, though we did see um, big crude inventory build. So that was a net positive. Was it that much? No, because distillates in that are still struggling. From an NQ standpoint, of course, NVIDIA and those high tech flyers with the whole AI thing is still, the trade. Everyone's still wanting to talk about that being a version of .com bubble, and I remember the time when WorldCom and those, were all the rage and everything, and you just couldn't meet the capacity. And that really becomes the question: is like, how long does the demand for AI and some of these things, and is it able to develop in a different way that expands? Well, you see, corporate world is actually using it to improve, productivity from that standpoint. So, will that result in fewer, people? It hasn't happened yet. So, um, all things being equal, it's still holding on. From a shakeout standpoint, you can see still continuing to climb, rising. We're now at that 15 level, so starting to get into that upper level. But everything's still pretty congruent, barring any, shock waves with tariffs, things like that. Things are going to continue to move along. And of course, yields faded off a little bit. This will be the interesting one. The U.S. is going to be coming up with what, almost 10 trillion that they're going to have to finance. Um, Still very attractive for compared to anyone else in the world. So there's just been a lot of shunning of Trump worldwide from this whole activity, and a lot of other governments are in a real big growing debt crisis themselves. So it's problematic. But you see, oil is not making enough downward stride. And um, the interesting thing is, if you see gasoline and things like that, then it becomes the question: is that related to a slowing economy or just greater supply? The Saudi lag, of course, just announcing their increase in production, and that it's going to take a while for that to work itself through the system. But this is still way too high to really quell inflation to the point where it's not even a factor from a Fed view. Of course, the euro is still dancing at these elevated ranges, despite no real justification for it, given where their growth standpoint is. When we look here at gold, it's doing just fine. Again, there's still broader inflationary, and as well as the debt issue, I think is still becoming the primary driver of a lot of the situation for where gold is. Bitcoin rallying with the Nasdaq almost back up here to new high range. So again, the adoption, you see the BlackRock and them have made their move into it. So it's just a question of, can they accumulate enough of what they need before the next move higher? And that just becomes a timing question. ETH now catching up, still overall behind because it's not at its relative highs from the same standpoint, but it's close. And when we move here to 50K, we see this is back and forth. I mean, that's intraday. You got a full rise up, peaks out, faded back just below the 50%, but Magenta always staying in the lead there. Once it crossed over, that was the lead up for the next run. And so, nothing from a strong enough short standpoint to do anything that will alter the situation. And when we look at it from the real early intraday, you had the brief morning collapse. Then the call buyers came in after they sucked up enough put buyers, and then of course they wiped out the call buyers all at the same time. And though we've seen here in the European session, as we get all the way across, making a move back up, and we're probably going to be neutral at the open, relatively speaking. So all in all, everything's pretty much clean at this stage, and we'll start to get the hard data coming through in the next days here, and that's really going to determine the picture going into the following weeks. And things are pretty much on hold until there's some kind of definitive, clear expression that either tariffs are causing a change in inflation or the economy is holding on enough. Right now, everything is just sort of in a neutral gear, and as that is the catalyst, as more money keeps applying into the market, you're still going to get a slight rise, and news will be the factor. So we'll just keep following the readings. As always, anything relevant, I'll put it on the team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.